According to Harvard Business Review, 70% of people experience imposter syndrome at some point in their careers. Many of them are when they are facing new challenges after getting a new promotion or when they are encountering challenges in their careers. Welcome everyone to Empower. It's been a while since I recorded the last episode. I think it was more than a year actually. I was finishing my last year of my MBA and just wanting to give a quick heads up. I was really busy that semester. That was the main reason why I was unable to continue this project. Or let me put it this way, I wanted to put it in pause mainly because I needed to finish my MBA and all my focus was in there. So I'm really excited to be back in this podcast, Empowered. It's been what a journey it's been. We started doing this since 2020. That was right before the pandemic started. So this project wasn't born in the pandemic. This project was born actually 12 weeks before the pandemic started. So I want to say thank you for everyone who has been following this podcast for almost 6 years. So thanks for being with us today. It's been a while, as I said. And yeah, right now, the plan is to keep launching one episode per week. I want to make this commitment in front of you. It's challenging right now because most of my monologues in Empower have been in Spanish. So doing this in English makes me feel uncomfortable. But one of the things that I always say, and for those who are bilingual, and probably you have heard this before when I'm doing this type of format in Spanish, is that the most uncomfortable the situation is, the more chances you have to grow. So I'm challenging myself right now in not only doing this monologue in English, but also doing a monologue itself. I haven't had this routine in years because if you have been following Empower since, and that wasn't even the name of the podcast, it used to be Luis Carlos Estrada podcast, but if you have been following this since 2020, you can tell that the first 40, 50 episodes, I don't remember, they were all monologues. And then it was only interviews, and sometimes I would do a monologue, but I would say that most of the time I was recording with a guest. So yeah, let's get into the episode right now. And I want to talk about imposter syndrome because, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, 70% of people experience this at some point in their careers. And I have experienced it myself. If you have been following me for the past years, you know how challenging my journey as an international student in the US was. I'm saying was for the first time in this podcast because this is the first episode that I do without being a student. Wow. So, something that I experienced during my college years was imposter syndrome. Not at the beginning, and the reason why is because I was really motivated, I was really disciplined, and I always envisioned myself in a way that I knew that I was going to be able to make it. However, at some point, I realized that it was more challenging than what I had thought. One time, I remember that was in 2023. I don't know if you remember, but I had an accident. And that was in May 2023, the first day of the summer. That was the summer before I was going to enroll in my MBA program. My goal that summer was to get as much money as I could because I had to pay $7,000 in fees for my MBA. So I already had a job secured that was giving me 28 hours. And then I was looking for another job that could give me 10, 12 hours so I could be at 40 hours every week. So I did the math and I thought that I was like, probably I might not get $7,000 over the summer, but I'll be close to that number. And then What happened the first day of the summer? I got an accident and I got surgery. I was unconscious for a while, and it was painful, not only physically but also emotional, because I was, of course, concerned about my health, but at the same time, I was concerned about, am I going to be able to get all the money I need so I can enroll in this program? So that was a challenge. After I recovered, I kept working this job that I was at 28 hours, and I got another job that I was getting, I think, between 10 and 12 hours every week. So every week I was working from Monday to Sunday because it was a weird schedule. That was the only reason, but I was still at almost 40 hours. And during that summer, it was when I would say that it was when the podcast Empowered was at its peak. Why? Because it was not about abuse, and it was not about a place, it was not about the shares, it was not about any type of social media metrics. It was about purpose, it was about motivation, it was about being able to connect with people that I never thought that I was going to be able to connect. Some of them, I grew up admiring them, and some of them, I would even imitate them. One of them, Ernesto Jerez from ESPN, he's a broadcaster he has been the MLB broadcaster for ESPN since I was a kid. And when I was broadcasting games with my friends when I was a kid, I was always trying to imitate his voice. The fact that I was able to record with him made me feel like this was unreal. And later, I was able to connect with other Fox Sports broadcasters. I was able to interview here in Empowered a former Yankees baseball player. I was able to interview a former Phillies baseball player, MLB player. And then towards the end of the summer, right before I was going to get into the NBA program, I was like, wow, I can't believe that right after my accident, and at some point, I thought that I was going to die before I got surgery. After surgery, I knew that I was fine. But the 8 days that happened, I think it was like 8 days between the day of the accident and the day of the surgery, I was really nervous. It was not like, it was not that I thought that I was going to die, but that idea crossed my mind. Then I was able to do all of these episodes. I think it was like 30 or 40 episodes, and all of them were amazing. And towards the end of the summer, I was like, wow, I can't believe, as I said before, that the summer started this way. And now, towards the end of the summer, I was able to do all these episodes with all of these amazing guests. So, a couple of weeks before my MBA started, I remember that I was talking to a friend who is a psychologist because I told him, how long is it going to take me to be on the other seat? And what I meant with this is, when I'm interviewing someone, I always think that I'm sitting in that chair as a student. And on the other side, if it's on Zoom, on the other side of the screen, I'm seeing that person as a mentor or as someone that I have a lot to learn from. If it's in person, whoever is sitting on the other chair, I'm thinking, oh, he or she is a teacher and I'm the student. So whenever I record with someone, I always like to have the mindset of a student, of someone who is learning from that person. If you who are listening to this episode are learning from either me or my guest, that's a win. But the fact that I'm talking to someone sometimes, that's a win already for myself, right? And sometimes I was comparing myself with them. Many of them are 20, 30, or even 40 years ahead of me, not only in age, but in their careers. And when I was saying to my friend, who is a psychologist, and I was sharing with him all of this, he told me that it was pointless to compare with them because I was feeling anxiety and I was feeling imposter syndrome, most likely. And the fact that I was comparing myself to all of them was making me question my worth. Fortunately, I have a lot of mentors. I have some professors who are or who have been my friends since my early college days, and I still have my advisors. I still have like people that I can reach out when someone is not going the way I want. And after having that conversation with my psychologist at that time, my friend, what I thought is that I really needed to stop comparing myself, because every time that I was interviewing someone that, let's say that he or she was famous, or they had had experiences that I dream about sometime, like being an MLB baseball player, I was feeling like I can't do this anymore. I was feeling like recording all of these amazing episodes were making me question my worth. So the reason why I do this podcast is not only to inspire action in other people, but it's also to inspire action on me. When I'm interviewing someone, as I said, I always feel like I have a lot to learn from that person. And when I'm recording episodes and I'm either sharing advice or sharing an experience, that makes me remember not only who I am, but also what I have done in the past that gives me the, let's say, authority to share something, right? And that's based on experience. And something that I would always say is, when I'm sharing with you, let's say that it's a piece of advice, take it as a grain of salt. If it's like in a positive context, of course, if it's something that you think that it resonates with you, take action on it. But if it's something that you're like, I don't think this is going to work for me, don't take it. It's just one opinion, but it's my opinion, right? So if you think, oh, this might work or this might not, don't take my word like this is the way. Instead, talk to other people, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your mentors, and pivot some ideas. And then the decision, you take it. Not because I told you, not because your friend told you. Take it because that's what you think is going to work for whatever case it is. And yeah, so empowered was the cause of some of my problems at that time. And dealing with imposter syndrome was really challenging because I never thought that my own podcast was going to make me experience this. Then, after 1 year in the MBA program, I had an opportunity to do my internship at Super Luxury Group. That's a company based in Miami. Actually, the owner of that company, my friend Alvaro, he was in Empowered. He was in episode 100, and go listen to it. That one is in Spanish, so if you're bilingual, give it a give it a chance. It's a good episode, and I admire Alvaro so much for everything he's done, for everything he has accomplished, and for the story he has. The fact that I was able to do my internship with him was amazing. And what was even more amazing, it was that I flew to Miami with him. We put this amazing event at a $40 million property. That's a real estate company, that's why. And all of the people who show up were singers, Netflix producers, Apple TV actors, a lot of famous people or successful people. And when I joined that internship, I remember that the outcome that I wanted is not to ever experience the imposter syndrome again. Of course, at some point of the internship, especially towards the beginning, I was experiencing it. And then when I had the chance to leave that event and actually to lead part of that, like the process or the creation, the logistics of all of that, I was like, I'm putting this event with my team. It was a really small team. It was four of us. And we were able to put this together in a week. Then after that, having the chance to talk to people that were really famous, people that I still watch their videos every day, influencers, and I was just talking to them over the phone on Zoom calls. One time I had a chance to talk to this guy who is the owner of the largest marketing influencer agency in Mexico, and all of his talents add up to have more than 200 million followers. I don't follow all of them, but I follow a few influencers that agency has. And then all of a sudden, I was saying to them, I was even able to establish a friendship with like 3 or 4 of them that I was like, I can't believe it when I think about it, but it happened so natural. And that made me realize that they're humans. And I remember one of my previous guests, I won't mention his name, but he's a good friend, and he's a billionaire, and he was on Empower long time ago, and he was invited to that event. And I remember that he wasn't able to make it, but he told me, after that event happens, call me. And he already knew that many influential people, some of them wealthy people, were going to show up. So he was curious about how that was going to go. So I called him after I came back, and I was on the phone with him for like half an hour. And he told me, how did it go? How how did the people behave? Something like that. And I said, most of them were really nice, but some of them were arrogant. Some of them were acting like if they were above everyone else. And he's like, I figured. I thought that some people were going to be like that. And this is what he told me. This is what he told me. He said, just remember that all of these people, the ones that are famous, the ones that are wealthy, are like you and I. They shower, they use the restroom, they eat breakfast, they go to bed at 9, 10 p.m. They do the most simple things that you and I do. And when he told me this, that stayed in my heart and in my mind. Now, when I need to talk to someone who is, oh, wow, they have done so much things in life, or he or she is a CEO, or I don't know, someone who's killing it, someone who you're like, wow, they're killing it. Now it's just someone else. They have feelings, they have emotions, they have drama in their lives, they have problems, they have happiness, of course. And so you and I. So what's the difference? Money? Connections? I have my own connections. You have your own connections. You have money. I got money. Probably you have more. Probably you have less. Who cares? Right? At the end of the day, it all, I mean, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. And some of our strengths might be really admirable to other people, right? But we all are different, and we all have our different capabilities. And if all of these strengths and capabilities that you have are seen by a million people, you might think, or people might think, that you have more power, that you have more influence. However, sometimes your skills and your capabilities just stay in your workplace or in your personal life. Not everyone is public. So that's the outcome that I took from that internship. Then, when the last year of my MBA program started, I never felt that I didn't belong. When I was making suggestions to clients in multiple projects that we had, I was not hesitating to share my opinion, because now I wasn't thinking that, oh, it's just my opinion. No, now I'm thinking it's my opinion. It's not just my opinion. And and yeah, so the outcome was that I overcame that imposter syndrome, and I haven't experienced it again in a year and a half almost. What I want to share with this, or the reason why I'm sharing this, is because if you're experiencing, or if you have ever experienced imposter syndrome, think about who you are, but not who you are when it comes to your job title. Think about who you are. Yeah, your job title might have something to do with who you are, but that's not your identity. You have your job title, but what if you're also a mom or a father? You might be a sibling, you might be a niece, a nephew, right? So you have one identity, and your identity, let's put it this way, it's an umbrella, and you have so many things below your umbrella. I'll give you an example in my case, right? So we have this umbrella. I have my job title, of course, but I also have this podcast, right? It falls below my identity. I also play baseball. I'm also a husband. I'm also a son. I'm also a grandson. So you're an individual, right? So don't put yourself in a small box that then makes you think that you don't belong to anything that is outside this box. It might be really easy to say this. However, being able to understand that in a deeper way, it's challenging. And that's something that I still need to master in my personal life. So take this as something that, with this I mean imposter syndrome, take imposter syndrome as something that you probably might need to experience it so you can understand who you are and what your worth is. Because if you're failing in this aspect of your life, that doesn't mean that you're failing in your whole life. However, the most important thing, and this is something that is my opinion, but it's also the opinion of the most successful people. If you put your personal life as your priority, you're more likely to succeed in your professional life. If you can come to your house and being loved and being valued, most likely that's going to translate, or that's going to be reflected in your job and in your hobbies, right? You don't want to be super successful in your professional life and then go home and not being loved and not being valued. So make sure that you are worth it, that you are valued, that you're loved in your personal life. That's what truly matters. And you know that you belong to your house. You know that you belong to your home. You know that you belong with your family. And I don't think, but there's unicorns, right? Some people might experience this. You sometimes might feel that you don't belong to your home or your house. I experienced it myself when I was living in Mexico at some point with my family. But in general, you might feel that you belong to your home, right? So do your job there, and then you're gonna see how it's going to be reflected in your professional life. Always prioritize your personal life, because if you're good in your house, you're going to be good in your professional life. But if you're good in your professional life, that doesn't mean that you're going to be doing good in your home. I don't know. That's something that I always like to remind myself. So I think it's worth it to remind you all. But yeah, these are some of the stories that I wanted to share about imposter syndrome. More than 70% of people experience this at some point in their careers. If you're experiencing this, it might be something positive, because that might mean that you're leveling up. But if it stays for too long, then it might be a problem, because that might be limiting you and your actions and your impact. Let me know what you think about this. And finding a mentor is crucial, because when you're experiencing imposter syndrome, you want to make sure that it goes away quickly. Don't enjoy having the imposter syndrome. You have it, okay, now you identify it, right? So now what's next? Overcoming it. What do you want to do? You might want to talk to a mentor. You might want to talk to your spouse. You might want to talk to a friend. But deal with it now. Don't procrastinate on that, because you don't want to limit your impact. Thank you for having been empowered. It's nice to be back. I hope I wasn't going in tangents in these episodes. I felt that I did it somehow. And yeah, the most uncomfortable the situation is, the more chances you have to grow. And yeah, this episode has been a challenge for me. As you might know, I have an accent in English. I'm trying to get rid of it, and I'm also trying to enunciate more so it's easier for you all to understand. And also, this is something that I really enjoy. When I do monologues in Spanish, I love it. When I do it in English, like the one you're listening to right now, it's a challenge. But I love challenges. So this is the first monologue in English probably since December 2022 because I did that monologue when I that was right after my graduation. When I graduated, I remember I did that. So it's been almost 3 years since I did a monologue in English. So I hope you are enjoying this. And I want to keep doing this format. Most likely it's going to be one episode in which I'm talking just like this, a monologue, and the one of the following week I might have a guest, but I might start prioritizing monologues because I think it's like a conversation that I'm having with you. So I would appreciate your feedback and what you think about it. Tell me what you think about imposter syndrome. Tell me if you have experienced it, and if you experienced it in the past and you already overcame it, I'd love to hear how you did it. And please share this with someone who you think is either experiencing imposter syndrome or might be about to. I think this might be something worth to share. Thanks for being here with me today. Please follow me on Instagram. I'll be sharing clips of this episode, and you can find me as Luis Carlos Estrada _empowered. And if you're listening to this in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, give it a like, follow me, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. Share it with your people. And as I like to say, empower people, empower people. Thank you.